Hi everyone, and welcome to the tutorial series for the Animal Behavior Kit. In this video we'll take a look at the roam behaviors, and we're going to divide all of the different roam behaviors into two parts to keep the videos relatively short. So in this part one we'll take a look at all of the different roam behaviors that your ground animal has. We're going to take a look at what the home base is and why we have that as an option. And we're going to take a look at two different roam modes that your animal has. So if you recall, and let's go ahead and jump to Unreal. If you recall in the previous video, if you've been doing this sequentially, we looked at the general settings for our ground animal. So quick recap, we kind of skipped the behavior and we went to setup general, and we looked at some of the simulation details, animal details, and death details. And then, if you recall, I kind of went back and forth between the setup general and the setup behavior because I wanted to have the behavior be kind of static to make things a little bit easier for ourselves. So finally, we're going to take a look at all of the different roaming behaviors. And this is the reason why we set up our level with all of these different blueprints here, because they're all going to serve to have our AI move around the world in specific ways. So the first thing we'll do is with our AI selected bpdo_tutorial, we're going to go to setup behavior. And you'll see here that we have a bunch of different options. So we're not going to look at all of these options in this video. This is why I broke it down into two different options. We're going to look at the roam behavior drop down here, which is kind of the main set of options that we have. So if you click here on the drop down on the roam behavior, you see that we have a lot of different options. We have stay in place, which is exactly what it says. It won't move, it'll literally just stay in its place. Go to random location in nav mesh, meaning, remember, we encapsulated the entire level in the nav mesh, so it'll just pick a random location in the nav mesh and it'll just try to go there. Random location within bounds, and you have to assign which bounding box you want, and it'll just roam around randomly within the bounds. Go to random waypoint, and we have several waypoints in the map, and it'll just bounce from waypoint to waypoint. Follow a path, which we have in this case just one path, and when we get there you'll see that it goes sequentially in the path. Go to nearest point of interest, and right now we have one point of interest. We're going to duplicate that so we can see the AI select the nearest, and eventually go to home base, right? And it's just that, it's just going to go to the home base. Okay, so let's go ahead and prepare this for testing. So let's grab our point of interest here, and we're going to duplicate it. And let's see, we're going to duplicate it by clicking Alt and dragging. And let's move it to this side of the map, I guess. Yeah, let's just put it right here. So it's not within the path, it's kind of in this area here. And let's make this a little bit bigger. So let's make the Y 50 as well. Actually, let's make it smaller, 30 by 30. It's a smaller point of interest. And now, remember what I said, with all of these volumes have a specific options here, and we want to see them when we're running the game, just so we can visually see that the AI is working. So we're going to select the two bounding boxes first and go to marker hidden and uncheck it. That means that while we're running we'll actually see it. Go to both POIs and uncheck mark hidden, and that should do it. We can't really visualize the waypoints since they're actually not even there's no visualization, there's just a little icon here. But now if you click play, notice that now we actually see the volumes, right? So that'll help us understand how the AI is moving. So the first option here is stay in place, right? And as you can see, if we hit play, the AI is literally just staying in place. And remember, the last video, we had the option of showing the HUD only on proximity, right? So this is obviously the least complicated of the options, just stay in place. And you may wonder, okay, why even have that option at all? Well, when we eventually get to the engaged behaviors, which are right here, which right now by default is on ignore, we're going to have things like attack, flee. So you may want AI to specifically stay in place until it sees the player, for example, and then it reacts in a specific way, right? So there is a reason why you may want to have the roam behavior as stay in place, right? Then the default, which you already seen, is go to random location in nav mesh. And if we click play, we'll see that the AI is just roaming around. And it's just literally picking a random location within the entire level in this case, because the nav mesh is basically all throughout the level, right? So this gives the AI the most freedom because it can literally go anywhere. As you can see, it's going to the edge of the map here. We're just kind of following it, but you can see it's literally any point that is navigable for the AI will just pick it and go to it. So this gives the AI the most freedom, but it gives you the least amount of control. If you have a massive level, you probably don't want this option because you can't really control where your AI is going. Remember, this is random. So if you have a long play session, by the time the player gets to a specific area in your game, your AI may be like right now in a random mountain, and you know, it just may look weird, right? So this gives you the least amount of control. If you have a smaller level, like in this case here, then it's probably fine. But usually for gameplay purposes, you probably want to select the next option, which is going to be go to random location within bounds, which means you're going to explicitly select an area with this blueprint to confine the AI. And right now, we don't have enough information. The AI doesn't know which bounds are you talking about. So we are going to scroll down under behavior location, expand it, and you'll see that we have a few options here. The first one is wait at location. So that means that as it's picking a random location, how long it will wait once it reaches the destination before picking up a new location. Then it has the bounds reference. This is the actual reference to the volume. So if you click the drop down here, it'll basically give you only two options, right? Bounding box 1 or 2. You can also use the eyedropper, right? So if you don't know which one this is or which one this isn't, you say, you know what, I just want it on this one. Click on the little dropper, hover over the class, and you can see that the icon changes. Left click, and you'll see that it automatically selects it for you there. And then you have a search radius, meaning how far will it search within the volume for a new random location. This is also important because you don't want the AI to be super erratic, like be here and then pick a random location here and then here and then here. So you have some control here of how you want your AI to behave. So we're telling the AI, I want you to roam around inside this volume. I want you to look for a random point that is navigable within a radius of 5,000. And once you reach the location, wait for 2 seconds and then search for a new random location within the bounds with a radius of 5,000 and rinse and repeat. So if you want your AI to wait longer so it moves less, increase the timer here. And if you want the AI to search for smaller areas, you can decrease this number, or if you want to increase the number. Play around with the settings until you get what feels right. So let's go ahead and hit play. And notice that the AI is automatically going to somewhere within this volume here. It picked a random location within this volume. And because we decided to keep this volume visible, we can verify now that the AI is actually staying within the volume. So it stayed there for 2 seconds, picked a new location, 2 seconds later, picks a new location, so on and so forth. You can see the AI kind of waiting there for just 2 seconds and picking another location. Just to drive the point home, I'm not going to do this for every single option, but if we wanted 5 seconds per location, or let's say 10 seconds, and we click on play, we'll follow the AI to its first location. It gets to the location and it'll wait here for 10 seconds. You can see that it's waiting way longer than before. 10 seconds later, it'll pick a new location, as you can see there, moves around, finds the next location, and it waits there for another 10 seconds. All right. Let's go back and change that to the default to 2 seconds. Okay, simple as that. Let's look at what other options do we have. So that is within bounds. You can also say, I want you to select a random waypoint in the world. And this will actually choose a waypoint in the world. So let's see if we have options for waypoints. And in this case, we don't. It's just going to do a trace. It'll find the nearest waypoint and it'll just go to it. So where are our waypoints? If we go here, let's go ahead and select them all. Just kind of make it obvious, right? You can see that they're selected in the map here, 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 here. So they're very discrete in location. So if we go ahead and hit play and we follow the AI, you'll see it stops here. There's a waypoint here. Waits for 2 seconds and it goes to the next waypoint. Waits and goes to the next waypoint. Now remember, what do we have here? We have the path, if you guys remember. And what is a path? A path is a set of waypoints. Remember what I said. The waypoints in the path are also used by the function select a random waypoint. So if you remember here, the AI came to this waypoint, then it came to this waypoint, and these two waypoints are part of a path. So the waypoints in the path are not exclusive to the path. If you get the AI to select a random waypoint, it'll actually come and have this pool available as well. All right, moving on. Follow waypoint path. Now, if you select the path, then it'll only go from waypoint to waypoint following the path in order. So that's a little different, right? So we're going to say that we want the AI to follow this path specifically. And we need to set up some options. So we go under behavior follow path and we expand and we see a few options here. The first is path selection is specific or nearest. And specific means that you're going to specify the path here, the specific path. In this case, we only have one path in the level, so we're going to go ahead and select it, which is this blueprint right here. But if we had multiple paths, we could select nearest, and the AI will simply do a trace and go to the nearest path and follow it, right? So this is again useful if you have several paths in your level, right, big level, and you want your AI to go to a random near path and just follow it. That could also be interesting. So let's say that you have a road, say you're making a big MMORPG, and you want your animals to cross the road or go parallel to the road in a specific section, just to make sure that the player kind of sees these animals. You can create a path and you can have the animal follow the path, ensuring that the player sees the animal. The next option is starting waypoint, and this is the index of the spline point. So if we select here real quick, you'll see that there are spline points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and these are indexed starting at 0. So index 0 is right here, this point right here, and then it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically, what we're telling the animal is we want, in this case, to go to this specific path. Here's the reference, and start at point 0 and wait at each waypoint for 2 seconds and then go to the next one. We could very well tell it to start in a different path, like path 3, for example, which would be the fourth part in the path, and then wait for an X amount of seconds. And what happens when the AI reaches the end? It'll just turn around and keep going back and forth, back and forth. So let's go ahead and see what happens. And we're going to start. Now we know that the path 0 is right here and the AI is right here. So we are going to hit play, and we know that we want the AI to follow this path and wait at each point for 2 seconds. You'll see that the AI comes here, and here's path, and here's number 0. Here's number 1, waits for 2 seconds, then goes to number 3, waits for 2 seconds, and it just keeps going. And as you can see, as soon as I hit escape, you'll be able to see the path. As you can see, the AI is following the path here. Okay. All right. Let me just make sure. This right here is causing an error. As you can see, the path is underneath the terrain. So let's go ahead and fix that real quick. Whoops. Let's go ahead and click on delete waypoints. And let's raise this higher. Make sure that all of them are above the ground. That's really important. And then click on place waypoints. And now we see that all the waypoints are selected. How did I know there was an error? When the AI was about to come to this waypoint, notice that it went somewhere else because it didn't know where this waypoint was. So it tried to go to the origin of the world, which is 0, 0, 0. Okay. So now let's try a different option here. Let's tell the AI to, oops, let's go ahead and move all the new waypoints under navigation. Let's tell the AI to follow this path, but start at waypoint 3, which would be 0, 1, 2, 3 right here. So let's try to stand right here and see what happens if the AI starts here. And you can see that indeed the AI is coming straight to the waypoint index 3 and is going right here. Okay, and it keeps following the path. And I want to follow it till the end so you can see that the AI actually turns around. But we won't see the entire loop. There's no point waiting for the AI to complete the journey. But we do want it to go to the end. I think this is probably the end right here. And then turn around as it reaches the end. There you go. So it reaches the end and then turns around and goes back. And notice that it's waiting 2 seconds in each point. You can change that amount to whatever you want. So if you want it to wait like almost nothing, 0.01, you'll see that the AI is almost just gonna look like it's running around almost without stopping. Or if you want the AI to stop for much longer, you can do that as well. All right. Cool. So let's go back. So that is paths. Let's go ahead and minimize this. The next option is go to the nearest point of interest. And the nearest point of interest is going to be either this guy here or this guy here. So in this case, it's pretty clear that the AI is going to go to this one because this is the closest one. So for points of interest, we do have a section called behavior POI, and we have a few options here. A point of interest is a little bit different because it accesses a specific volume, almost like this volume here, where you want the AI to walk inside the point of interest for a specific amount of turns. So in this case, it's basically saying, I want you to wait in the point of interest for 60 seconds, and I want you to move 2 times within the point of interest. So 60 seconds is a little long, so let's make it 10 seconds, just for the sake of the tutorial. And let's say that we wanted to move 3 times. Now, when we click on play, we'll see that it goes to the nearest point of interest, which is this volume here. It picks its first location, which is random. It is going to wait 10 seconds, which is what we told it. And then it moves to a new location within the point of interest. And it's going to go ahead and wait another 10 seconds. There you go. And picks yet one more time, another point. We remember we said it. We said that it should do it 3 times. So wait 10 seconds, 3 times within the point of interest. And then in this case, it's going to remain here because this is still the closest point of interest. You'll see how we can break this behavior later on, but this is yet one more option that you have here to use points of interest. Okay, and then you can simply say go to home base. And what is the home base? Right, the home base is a specific point of interest that the AI calls home. So we are going to choose the first one. Actually, let's just use the eyedropper just to make it easier for us. You can select it right here. And all this is saying is, I just want this AI to go to its home base. That is the behavior that I want. So if I click play, you'll see that all the AI is going to do is just go to its home base. Notice how the AI is circling the water is because of the blockers that we added earlier on. And then once it hits the home base, it'll use the same settings that we had for points of interest. Simple enough. Now there's a separate setting that you noticed. Is a boolean here called use home base, and this is interesting because this basically uses the home base every time a roam behavior is completed. And if you hover your mouse over here, you'll notice that it says after roaming, go back to its home base. So if you click on go to random location in NavMesh, it'll just go randomly anywhere. But if we select use home base, what it'll do is it'll pick a random location in the NavMesh, go to the random location, and then from there go to its home base. And then from there pick another random location. So let's just see that in action. So there you go, it picked this location here randomly. And now let's follow the AI, and as we do that, why do we want this setting? Well, it's just another option. Sometimes you may want the animal to always return to a specific place, even though it's roaming around all over the place. This could be like a nest, or if it has like little cubs, or if, you know, let's say the animal lives inside a cave and you want the animal to come back to the cave periodically. For whatever gameplay reasons, you do have that option, and this option works with every other movement method. So obviously roam within the nav mesh, random point in nav mesh, roam within the volumes, follow a path, pick a random waypoint. You just tick that boolean and says I want you to use the home base and reference the home base, and the AI will simply use the home base. You can see here that it picked a random location in NavMesh, which just happened to be really close, and then it went back to the home base. So again, another option. The same thing will happen if we selected follow path. I'm not going to choose every single option. Otherwise, we'll be here all day, but feel free to test out the settings here. So that is what use home base is all about. And remember, home base is basically a POI. So whatever you select here for POI will also affect the home base. All right. And let's go back here real quick, make sure that we cover everything. So we looked at the different roaming behaviors. We looked at the home base. And the last thing for this video is, what is the roam mode? And if we go back to Unreal, you'll notice that we kind of skipped through that. Right here we have roam mode and we have specific or random. Let's go ahead and disable home base just for this example. And if you hover over, you'll see that it says roam mode specific, only use a specific roam behavior, which is this one. And if we select random, it says pick a random roam behavior once the current behavior is finished. Yet more options for you. So if you select random, what this AI will do is it'll pick this roam behavior, says, okay, I'm going to go to a random location in the NavMesh, and then when it's finished, it'll go to this list and pick a random behavior from this list. So in essence, the animal could go to a random location within the NavMesh, then it can go to a random waypoint, then it can go to a random bounce, then it can go to a random POI, then it can go ahead and it just kind of flips between different roam behaviors, or it could just decide to stay in place. One word of warning here is, if you do select this option, make sure that you have references for all of your different volumes, right? So if it tries to go to a bounce, right, you need to have a reference here for your bounce. Otherwise, it'll throw an error. If it decides to go into a path, for example, make sure you have a reference to the path. If it decides to go to a POI, for example, it'll just find the nearest POI. If it decides to go to the home base, it'll use this. So in other words, make sure that you have your references. Otherwise, if it picks that option, the animal won't know where to go. And we're not gonna sit here for too long, but if you go to debug animal, you can actually debug the roam behavior by ticking this box here. It'll actually print what the roam behavior is, and that's a nice little way for us to test what is the current roam behavior. So let's go ahead and click on play and follow this guy here. All right, and notice that on the left said random location within bounds. So now it's picking random location within bounds. Remember, we started with random location. Now it says go to nearest POI. Look at the top left corner, kind of flashes really quickly, and it just goes here. And now it's going to use the behavior inside, which is move 3 times within the POI, right? And then we have to wait for 10 seconds and see how it moves. And once this is done, it'll pick another roam behavior. So pay attention to the top left. We're gonna do it one more time so you can see how things are working, and then we'll move on. I think the next one is gonna be another random behavior. There you go, and it says go to random location within bounds. And remember, we had this bounce volume as go to nearest POI, and it just goes back to this POI. Remember, we had this bounce as the reference. So as long as we have the references to the animal, it'll just keep switching. And one of these days, it's going to pick the path, and it's going to try to come to the path here. All right. So those are the different options that you have for roaming. Really quickly, as a recap, You have two different roam modes: specific, which is whatever you specify here, or random. You have a lot of different behaviors: stay in place, random location within nav mesh, random location within bounds, random waypoint, follow path, nearest POI, or go home. You have the option of using a home base, which means that every time their roam behavior completes, it'll go back to its home base, and that works with all of the different roam behaviors. And again, with the roam mode, you can have specific or random. In the next video, we are going to look at all of the other options that have been left off, like random movement, behavior details, etc. All right, thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.